We'd like to welcome to the second episode of Home Visit with Tyler Siskey and the Associates, the head football coach, and my good friend from the University of South Alabama, Kane Wommack. Kane, how we doing, Bo?
Doing fine. Glad to be on there, Cisco.
Man, as we were doing, we started doing these questions and sitting things out. You and I go a long way back, and we got some stuff. we can do this podcast for about 10 hours, but I was thinking about what's something great we could tell everybody that really nobody knows about, and I couldn't help but think I'm going to take you back. You may recall a little bit here to the day of July the 22nd. I had to go look this up. I don't know this off the top of my head. July the 22nd, 2017. All right. So here's what happened.
Day of infamy.
Day of infamy. This is what happened. Is I can't remember, maybe you do. I can't remember, but you had a recruit coming in. You were the defensive coordinator, and you had a recruit coming in. I think he was a receiver. I'm not sure, but outside backer. For whatever reason, you wanted me to be there. So I came in a little early, get a little workout in. And it's like around 2:15, 2:20. I go to my office, take a shower, get ready to go, and you walk in like you have seen a ghost. Tell everybody what happened.
All right, so we're bringing this guy in, right? He's coming in from Atlanta. He's almost here, and there is a huge thunderstorm that rolls in, and so it's raining, it's pouring down. So I go swing around to the loading dock, which I never do, right? I've never gone over there, but I'm like, I'm not about to get trenched and make the 50-yard run from the parking lot to the field. So sure enough, I'm hanging out over there. I'm just like working up the nerve and courage, right, to jump out of my car in the middle of the rain. And about that time, I feel this huge burst of wind, right, that literally rocks my SUV. And I start to hear a noise behind me, and like one of the most eerie noises I've ever heard in my life. And I turn just in time to see what was the structure of the indoor training facility coming down on top of itself. So it wasn't finished, you know what I mean? But the structure, I mean, you remember the structure itself was up, right? But they were right in the middle of getting things done. And I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't want to say anything legally that would compromise me as the head coach at South Alabama. So I'm not sure what happened, right? But that joker came down. It imploded on top of itself. And I will never forget, right, the sound that it made of steel bending and falling down on top of each other.
Because at this point in time, it's just you and I. We were off that weekend because we're getting ready to start two days.
Oh, there's nobody here.
It's you and me in this whole building. And I will never forget. So I'm tying my shoes or something. I just got a shower, getting ready. And you walk in my office with this pale look in your face. You're like, did you hear that? I was like, hear what? And you're like, it failed. I'm like, what failed? What are you talking about? He goes, the indoor, it just collapsed. I was like, and so I looked out the window, and where my office was, I could kind of look out the side and kind of see. Well, it was raining so hard that you couldn't even see it, right? And I'm like, what do you mean it failed? You go, Cisco, the indoor just fell on. I said, like a piece? You go, no, the whole thing. The
whole damn thing came down.
It's gone. And I was like, I looked at you, looked at me, and we go like, well, who do we call? Like, there's no emergency number for a facility collapsing. Like, who do we call? I think you called Joel or something. I called Joey or whatever it was. And then came like I said, we won't say anything to get anybody compromised from a legality standpoint of who was responsible. But the craziest thing I've ever seen is, I mean, this was like a $12 million facility. They were on the finish, like they were getting ready to put the roof on. I mean, it was.
Well, we were in it. I mean,
we were about to be done.
So,
so I'm glad actually that you're now back at South Alabama, so you get to actually enjoy that. And you got to tell me, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I've driven by it, when I was out recruiting, when I was at Ole Miss, I came down, we were recruiting a young man in Mobile. And so I actually drove by because I wanted to see it, because I never, it was planning, all that stuff. I still don't know if I ever, and then the first day that I walk inside of it, I'm going to kind of like, check it, make sure it's sturdy.
I'm totally with you. It was first time I got in there, I'm like, golly, this thing's gorgeous. It's it's the biggest structure in the state of Alabama. It's the biggest covered pavilion in
Wow.
the state because we have that extra 15 to 20 yards outside the end zone for the O-line, D-line, and all that stuff. But like, so I'm going through and looking at it, and I feel like this, I'm like, test the structure, like let's kick the tires a little bit, make sure this sucker's, it feels firm. I can tell you just from a bird's eye. I think we're in a good place moving forward. So
Yeah, I hate to tell all the players and future players at the University of South Alabama, Coach Wommack will not be taking you in the indoor very often. So be outside as much as possible. So,
we're
you
good.
know, one thing I want people to know about you that, I tease you pretty much nonstop about since I've known you is
One thing you tease me about?
yeah, just the one thing I tease you about the most. How about that?
Oh,
The most
clearly.
is your impeccable taste for fashion. All right. So people say they see you at practice and they see you on the sideline and you dress well. You dress well.
Thank you.
But what people don't know is how well you dress outside of the building, like when you're on your own time and your taste. So I have a big question for you right here.
Okay.
Who dresses better away from football? Is it you or Cliff Kingsbury?
Oh, that is a challenging question. It's actually not a challenging question because Cliff has a few more financial resources than the Womack family right now. So his inventory, I would say, is probably a little greater than mine. And yet at the same time, he also is in a size that fits a more chic look than where my hip region is. So that being said, I've lost a few pounds. I've taken some down since the bowl game. I've lost like 16 pounds since the bowl game. It's the
Look at you.
head coach stress diet. It's a great diet to get on. So
It's a good gig if you can get it.
That's right. So I am on the heels of Cliff Kingsbury in terms of his style, but my hips are always going to be a little wider than his, and that will always make things a little more difficult for me in my fashion search. But I do like to wear, like to look good.
You do. All right. So let's parlay this a little bit. So is a sweater vest acceptable fashion for a coach?
That is a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. A sweater vest is never an appropriate answer for a coach. I think Jim Tressel was the last that pulled it off, and he looked like he was, that he was going into a teaching a class or a seminar or something like that, and it felt appropriate right in that manner. But I don't think it ever is appropriate on game day.
Early in my career, I have to admit, because social media wasn't around, so I really don't have to worry about like photos resurfacing or anything like that. But early in my career, sweater vests were a thing, man. I have to admit, the look back in the day, Kane, was, you remember, like, this is back when we were in shape, and you were probably still playing, but when I actually had a couple of less pounds on my body, you'd wear the tight Under Armour shirts, with the sweater vest on top.
Yeah,
that was a look that you could pull off, but I can't do that anymore. So
pull off would be a strong word.
It would be, but thank goodness, because if the only reason you could pull it off is because you didn't have social media or anything like that, anybody to troll you all week long. But all right, so here's a good one for you right here. You ready?
Yeah.
Me personally, I have seen you wear a hat on a game day. I've seen you wear backwards hats on game day, and I've actually seen you wear no hat on game day.
Okay.
Why not a visor? Never seen you wear a visor a day in my life.
And you never will. And here's why. There are two options, all right, from my hairstyle and most hairstyles that come out of a visor. All right. Now, if you were rocking the Tyler Siskey 40 plus years, right, hairdo, which
43
is
now.
42, then you know what I mean? If you don't have anything on top, you can wear a visor and it looks fine. But when you have hair and you put a visor on, two outcomes, right, from your hair. You either have the mushroom, right? Where your hair bops up, you know what I mean, at the top,
I do.
right? It's a little, I don't want to, well, I don't want to name names, you know what I mean? I get in there, but Kirby Smart's got a little mushroom going on. I'm just telling you.
You gonna throw Curry out there?
I'm
Okay.
throwing Kirby under the bus. Okay. All right. He pulls it off. He makes it look good, but there's a mushroom going on where the hair pops up over top and it just kind of mushrooms out over top of the visor, right? Or right, the peacock feathers where the visor, your hair just pushes out in front of the visor and you look like a peacock, over top. And neither one of those are a look that I'm looking to one to pull.
What are we gonna see the head coach Kane Wommack wearing this fall?
Well, I feel like the backwards hat, right? It's a little too casual, Not to mention, it has been brought up through my dear wife that it does add a few pounds to my face when you turn your hat around backwards. So
really, see, I did not know this. I learned something there. It does.
It does. So if you're gonna wear your hat around backwards, you need a nice chiseled frame,
sleek
along the chin line. So we'll probably go with a nice, straightforward ball cap.
But to be fair, to be honest, and to be straight, we are wearing hat. We're not going no hat. We're going hat.
Here's the deal. If I thought that I could have my hair that holds like a head basketball coach throughout a game, right? And there's enough going on there where it would just stay all throughout a game. But we're out in the elements, and there is you also got to factor in that I wear the two, whatever you want to say it, the two cuff headset.
Double earpiece.
Yeah, the double earpiece deal. So it's better just throw a ball cap on top of that and let bygones be bygones.
All right, we couldn't talk about fashion without bringing up these last two topics here about fashion. Okay. So in 2000, one of them's coming.
It took us this long.
Yeah. In 2016, you were in your debut with the South Alabama Jags. Okay.
Oh,
your
okay.
The next one's coming. We come out, we're the South Alabama Jags. We're not going to name names, but we just happen to be playing in an SEC program, right? The first game. And the opposing coaching staff came out wearing shorts. Now, they were khaki shorts, so, they were not jorts, they were not Daisy Dukes, they were khaki shorts, but they did coach the game in shorts, which we all commented on for at least 15 minutes before kickoff. It was the craziest thing. It got us going, and our players got it. Will we ever see your staff wearing shorts on the sideline?
You will never, for a plethora of reasons, you will never see my staff with shorts on. One, if you lose the game, which that staff did, a Power 5 program to a Group 5 program, South Alabama Jaguars.
Yeah.
All right. People will then start to point to your shorts as a reason of the outcome of the game, as opposed to just whether or not you did a good job of coaching and preparing your team for game one. So I'm not going to give that as a reason. And if you've ever seen my thighs in shorts, you're not going to see any other staff member in shorts. So.
Yeah,
you ever seen my thighs or Major Applewhite's legs?
A lot of sunscreen.
There's plenty of sunscreen there. I love him to death, but he's pale, and we're just both for different reasons better off covering up.
Yeah, you got to make sure you have him lathered up in the Mobile sun now, because he will get nice and toasty out there on that turf. Tell him if he goes to the turf, it reflects heat, so he'll be good to go.
There's no doubt.
All right, so the question that you knew was coming, because you and I know each other, so you know this question was coming sometime during this interview.
Yep.
Will, you have this, you're the first male that I've ever met that actually wore Lululemon. Well, since then, just so you know, I have met others. I'm not one of those and will never be one of those. So it's kind of like you're not a visor guy. I will never wear the Lululemon stuff. Will Lululemon be any part of your game day attire this year?
You bet your bottom dollar it will.
Okay, what are we going with? Let's go.
Well, all right. So Lulus obviously are, they are by far the most comfortable pants that you could put on. I think you say it as a point of heckling, right? Whenever you say that I'm the first person that you know, I see it as absolutely a point of pride. I get a little disappointed that people use Harbaugh as the standard, right, of the guy that brought Lululemons to college football. In 2014, Kane Wommack at Eastern Illinois as the defensive coordinator there was rocking the Lulus. It wasn't until I think 2016 that Harbaugh put on his first pair of Lulus in place of the pleated khaki, which has no place in college football. That's one step behind wearing shorts in the game. But I think we will, although I will say this, Adidas has put out a 5-pocket pant that is in a strong rival to the Lulu ABC pant.
Where's the 5th pocket? Like, why do you need 5 pockets and where is it located?
It is inside another pocket. There's a secret contraption.
Okay, because we all need that, right? We may can issue that for burner phones later on to some staffs.
let me say that since I'm calling out coaches around the country right now and blackballing myself to the rest of the community. If you look up this season or anytime in your next couple of years and somebody's just running it up on you, they're going to say, "Hey, I listened to your podcast, so listen to your podcast.
Doing an extra on you." Go ahead.
But since we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and call out my guy Tom Allen as well, who is the number one adversary to Lululemon pants, right? And
number 2. I'm number 1.
Well, actually, that's why I feel like eventually I will get you in a pair, because I was able to get Tom Allen in a pair of Lululemons, all right, in conjunction with his wife, and we actually got him in a pair without him knowing, because he doesn't read the labels. So he actually started wearing them, and he was like, "These pants are phenomenal," and then he was hooked by the time he realized what he was in. And so at that point, he stopped heckling me over the Lulus and bought into the craze.
All right, I'm going to leave you alone on fashion for a minute, okay? So you probably don't want this out, but I just want to let you know because, I still know a lot of people around Mobile, and the word has gotten back to me that you've been playing a little golf since you've been back to Mobile. Is this true?
There is, it's not a little golf. I have played one round of golf. I played 9 holes one time.
That's it.
That is it. That's the only golf that I have played. So it actually was a really cool deal because Jim Nagy, right, who is the head of the Senior Bowl, who you know well, and David Morris, who is also the head of Quarterback Country, who you know well, both operate out of Mobile. And so
I may or may not have heard from one of those 2 people.
I'm sure that's exactly who you heard from. I thought it could have been one of your Alabama connections because I feel like we had just about every quarterback over the last few years that has taken the snap for Alabama -2 out there with us.
Yep, one of them told me to.
Yeah, one of them told you to. So that was fun. We had a great time. Major and I got invited out there to the quarterback club kickoff there. We just we went and played golf. I think it was Nagy, Morris, Mac Jones was out there, Coker was out there, a few other guys. We had ourselves a good time.
I'll tell you what. All right, so the next question is, since you've only played 9 holes, I already know the answer to this. Are you ready to take on Cisco yet? Is your game ready to go yet to where you can take on Cisco?
I don't, but I do have a question for you.
Okay. We're flipping the script?
We are. We're flipping the script here, all right? Given your back stability, all right, do you feel like that you need to swing that hard off the tee box?
All right, so the answer is yes. It's like there's no reason look, if I see the pin, I'm going for it. There's no reason. Like, I can't play golf, and this is why Freeze, he always would like to play me because I can get hot now, and I can go roll off some birdies, but I can also get hot and roll off some quads and quad bogeys. I can throw a lot of snowmen on the scorecard because I can go out of bounds. But that's how golf is fun to me. I go out there and just hit the piss out of it and hope it goes straight. It's fun that way. I mean, I don't want to get out there. Who wants to take a 5-iron off a tee? I mean, what's the point of that?
Well, I will say, all right, for the your fan base, all right, that when you do make contact and it does happen to go straight, okay, those 2 things, right, are few and far between.
Every once in a while.
But when you do, it is a thing of beauty, and you put it out there in good ways.
I will say this because you just mentioned his name, and that's what I was going to say is Jake Coker. Like there's literally like two people that I play with ever that will I'm talking about ever that can consistently hit the ball further than I can, and one of those is Jake Coker. We used to tease this dude. I'm talking about. I don't even want to. He's the longest I've ever seen hit a golf ball. And then our good friend Tom Luke. Tom Luke's like 51 years old. He needs to go on tour. This guy had. I mean, whew.
I have played with both those guys, and they can both hit it a country mile. Impressive.
They're good. So, since we're talking a little bit about Mobile, and I know how much you love ever since you've been. You're a coast guy, and you love Mardi Gras. Okay. Do you actually eat king cake?
That's an interesting question. I do eat king cake. I think filled king cake is better than a traditional. I guess there's some argument of whether the first king cakes came out filled with like a praline filling or whether they came out dry. I don't prefer dry king cake because, or rather unfilled king cake because it is too dry. All you feel like you're eating is, colored sugar bread. But a nice filled king cake is hard to beat.
Like I don't get it. What
You don't
is
like king cake?
I just don't know what it is. I mean, is it a cinnamon roll? Is it a pastry? Is it a croissant? And here's the thing I don't get about king cake. Also in a king cake, for those who don't know and have never been on the coast or been a part of Mardi Gras, there is a plastic baby. There's a trinket inside this cake, right? So I mean, am I supposed to eat it with somebody in case I need the Heimlich maneuver and I choke on a piece on a trinket? I mean, do I break a tooth? I mean, like, I don't get it. Like, why do we eat things that I don't understand it. So I've never been a big king cake guy. Now you slice me a little piece and I just don't know what it is. I'm sure I would like it, but I'm always afraid I'm going to break a tooth or need somebody to help me before I choke myself out. I mean, I just don't get it.
No, king cake's great. I would say it is a pastry. I don't think, what was the word you used? Did you use croissant?
Croissant. I can't spell it, but I can pronounce it.
You actually can't pronounce it either. I
Well,
don't think anybody ever calls it croissant. I think it's croissant. If you're
it's
going to
what?
It's croissant or croissant if you're speaking in French.
No, I have never
You
called it
a croissant.
No. I can tell you this. In Anniston, Alabama, we call it a croissant. That's what we call it. A croissant. That's what we call it. A croissant. Kind of like a crouton, but it's a sant on the end. All right. So if you eat king cake, this is a critical question. Have you ever had fruit cake at Christmas?
That's actually an interesting question, and I do not eat fruit cake. They're the same. They're not the same in my mind. Fruit cake is a much denser, moist deal that puts like basically it's candied fruit. It's not real fruit. Yeah. It's like putting gummies in the middle of your cake.
Yeah, it's another Heimlich trap. You know what I mean? It's another thing I got to eat that somebody's got to help me so I don't choke myself. Yeah. Like I have never met a human being that's actually had fruitcake. Like now, but people
Dave
still
Wommack.
No.
Dave Wommack is a huge fruitcake eater.
Don't tell me that.
I just realized what I was saying. Dave Wommack's fruitcake. Dave Wommack loves fruitcake.
You got to be kidding me.
He does. He loves fruitcake.
But like everybody gives them as gifts and they all go in the trash can. Like I've seen more people throw it away, like full cakes that I have seen. Like I wish I got to call Dave. Dave, if you're listening, come on, Dave.
You got problems. I'll send you fruitcake this Christmas.
No, please don't. All right. So now that you're back in Mobile, you got some choices down there. So this is critical because I know as part of your and my diet, we would go on the road many times and one of these is getting eaten while we're out. Is it Zaxby's, Kane's, Guthrie's, which is an Alabama thing, I think, and some Georgia, or Fusakli's?
Wow, that's a challenge. There's also some political aspects to this. If you live in Mobile and you put Fusakli's in there and all that.
Food's tough to beat, man.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this. What was it? Kane, Zaxby's,
Kane's,
Zaxby's,
Zaxby's, Guthrie's,
okay.
or the food.
Or the food. Okay. Fusackley sauce is by far the best sauce of any of them. All right, I got it. Kane's chicken with
Okay.
Zaxby's fries
Okay.
topped with foo sauce.
Ooh.
And I
Okay.
don't know, I got nothing for Guthrie's. I don't know.
Guthrie's was the original. And then
Was it?
Yeah, so it was in Auburn and Athens, and they started when I was in college, and then like they got mad at each other, and some guy broke off and makes Zaxby's, and all this stuff takes off. Guy breaks off Zaxby's and makes Cane's. So this is all they're all chicken fingers with fries and a special sauce and Texas toast and good sweet tea. All of them have good sweet tea. So
Very true.
I'm actually, I think I'm a Cane's guy, but when I'm in Mobile, man, the food's hard to beat, man. The food's hard to beat.
You can't fake the food.
Can't fake the food. All right, what temperature do you eat your steak at, Kane?
Medium rare.
Medium rare, really?
Medium rare. Yeah.
I mean, why even cook it?
If you go to a restaurant, right, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you go to a restaurant that knows how to prepare a steak, all right, you should eat your steak medium rare. That's how it should be.
See, I got this new thing. I used to be like a well done guy, then I came down to medium well as I got older, and then I've turned into this. You'd be proud of me though. I've turned into this is as far as I can go. But I'll tell the guy, and they look at me like I'm crazy, but I say like medium plus, like just a little bit more than medium, not medium well, but like a medium plus. I can deal with that. That's pretty good.
You're becoming that go out at 5:15 early bird special with
absolutely
a million different requests before it gets back to the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm turning into the old guy that the music's too loud. I'm turning into that guy. All right. So speaking of food, what is the best food that you have ever been served on a home visit?
Oh, that's a good one. You know what? Actually, this past year, well, I guess 2 years ago now, one of the linebackers that I had committed at Indiana, his mom, we were actually in Indianapolis, but her family from the South got a background out of Louisiana, and she made some gumbo. That was really good gumbo. And it's, pretty hard to get a good bowl of gumbo in the Midwest. So
yeah.
I don't know if it was because I had missed it so much, you know what I mean? Or,
yep. That's hard to beat, man.
Whatever, but it was pretty good. Anything spicy and Cajun, I'm all.
You're in on. Yep. Man. I know. You're a big crawfish guy.
I am.
All right. So Melissa, when we get done with this interview, Melissa calls you and she says, Melissa, your wife, who's a saint that she married you, by the way. Melissa, your wife calls you after this interview and she says she's not cooking tonight and it's your job to put food on the table. What are we going with?
Oh man. What's actually good? You're going to hound me about this. Have you ever heard of a frittata?
No, there we go. It's like Lululemon. Frittata, isn't Frittata, wasn't she a singer one time like Nelly Frittata?
No. Frittata is it's a fancy way to say an overcooked omelet that like basically it's egg, it's butter, it's all the different things that you would put in an omelet, but you cook it first on the skillet for just a minute. You put all your ingredients. I like onion and bacon and spinach and feta cheese and all those different things, right? That I put in mine. And then you cook it all up. Then you pour the egg in there. Just whisk the egg, all that stuff with the butter and all that. Really, really good. And then, but you cook it only to like a certain point, and then it has some stability on the bottom, and then you throw it in a broiler in the oven to broil over top and throw cheese on top. So it's this like really crispy cheese on top that's really good with all your good ingredients in. So it's a souped up version of an omelet, and
You're cooking this, or
I'm cooking the frittata.
You're not getting anybody to make it for you.
Nobody is coming in to make Kane Wommack's frittata. I can make a frittata.
Okay. All right. All right. I got a couple of good football questions for you here. You've been in a bunch of different levels, a bunch of different leagues. The worst hotel that you had to stay in the night before a game on the
Oh,
road.
there are some doozies. You know what? Honestly, no joke. The worst hotel. And again, this is coming from a guy that has spent multiple years in the Ohio Valley Conference, right? That there are not a lot of great teams in that league. But the worst hotel that I have stayed at is in Happy Valley, going to Penn State on the road.
Really?
That hotel, it is this. There's only two hotels in town. One really nice one that the Nittany Lions stay at, and then one that has been there. I mean, I couldn't tell you how long this thing has been there, and they have yet to do a renovation. So within that, right, this place it's all outdoor. It's a motel, so your room opens up.
Nice. Nice, Clark. Nice,
That's
Clark.
always a difficult thing, right? The you do a walkthrough in this like covered patio. You know what I mean? So you can't. There's no room to do any of your walkthroughs or meetings or anything like that. And then you're sleeping on a mattress that should not be deemed a mattress in and of itself. I think it's all I think it's all a pregame, tactic.
There you go. Yeah, a little Iowa pink locker room issue. I got you.
Yep.
Got you. All right.
That's right.
All right. Same thought here. The worst visiting locker room that you've ever been in.
Oh man. Actually, I'm going back to the OVC on this one. Okay, Austin P. All right, before they did all their beautiful renovations and all that to their stadium, had a locker room. Okay, the stalls on the bathroom, the fronts had been ripped off, and the first main stall, right? There were only like two options to use the bathroom, but the first stall is dead centered, lined up with the front door access, right? That like you're taping everybody, all that stuff outside because there's not enough room in the locker room, right? So you have like people walking back and forth. I mean, there's fans walking back and forth, and all of a sudden, like you'd be standing out there. I never use the bathroom there, right? But you'd see players that just it is what it is, right? They got to take care of their business in this wide open stall. And so like a door would fling open, right? And you would just make eye contact with this guy on the commode, you know what I mean? And he would just like give you this awkward stare. And then the door just slowly swings back, right, to close. And then 3 seconds later, it would open wide open again. It's got to be the worst situation in college football.
I don't know if I've heard one that bad before. That's great. Oh, I'm dying. All right. Oh, I got to catch my breath here for a second. That's great. All right. All right. Being in the OVC, you were at Eastern Illinois.
Yep.
Okay. Who's the best Eastern Illinois quarterback? Sean Payton, Tony Romo, or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Okay.
Who you going with?
All right. I'm going to say this. I came in on the back end of Jimmy Garoppolo. He had just finished playing. And so like I turn on the tape, watch the defense. They did some good things, right? They're up 21-0 in the first quarter of every single game, right? So they're just basically playing prevent defense the rest of the game. But I go back and I watch the other side, and to watch Jimmy Garoppolo operate in FCS football, I mean, it didn't matter whether it was 3rd and 10 or 1st and 10. I mean, he had complete control of that game. I would be hard pressed to find another guy that was better or more dominant than Jimmy Garoppolo during his time, especially in that offense. I thought it was just a perfect match. Because when I was at UT Martin and Jacksonville State on the front end of my career, Jimmy was a freshman and a sophomore and was really just okay. He had a skill set, okay, but he threw picks all the time. It just, really wasn't, I mean, it took him a while. And then all of a sudden he got in there with the, Baber system. And I mean, his junior and senior year was phenomenal.
Okay, Jimmy G, like it.
Jimmy G.
All right, you were at Indiana for the last couple of years, right?
Do what?
I said you were at Indiana for the last couple of years, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How many times did you watch Hoosiers while you were in Indiana?
Oh gosh. What's his name? The star basketball player,
Jimmy Chitwood.
Jimmy Chitwood. So yeah,
The best sports movie of all time. Best sports movie of all time.
Okay. All right. I hear you. I think
Big
it's
Hoosiers
a great
fan.
movie. Are you?
Big Hoosiers fan.
It is a great movie. There are a lot of things to go back. You know, that movie was that high school basketball gym was modeled after Newcastle High
Yep.
School, which is the home of Tom Allen.
I knew that.
Did you know that?
I knew that.
So Tom, in all his hometown pride, would talk to me all the time and show me pictures of his high school basketball gym, which I have to say is pretty amazing. To have a high school basketball gym that holds about 10,000 people, and they pack that sucker. Pre-COVID, obviously, but
Yep.
but pretty impressive.
He told me that. I think when we were at Arkansas State, he told me that.
I think he tells everybody he meets that. Honestly.
Yeah. It's good fact. All right. Speaking of facts, it's time to come clean. Okay, I'm gonna hem you up on this one. Are you still using my Hulu login?
The Hulu login.
The Hulu login. Are you still using my Hulu login? Because I do see movies pop up from time to time. But I haven't watched that movie. I must be Kane.
You didn't watch that movie. You didn't watch Chocolat or
No.
Just kidding. Given Hulu contractual obligations, I'm not at liberty to say.
All right, here we go. And another thing people don't know about you is you're actually a deep thinker. You know that, I mean, like, and you do.
Strong word.
You are, but you do. You put every decision that you make, on a serious note, every decision that you make, you put a lot of thought into it. And actually, I've always admired, I like the way you make decisions because, hey, this is a result if I do this. You really think things through. So
Thank you, sir.
considering that you're such a deep thinker,
Mm.
what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Conspiracy theory. Oh, man. That's actually a tough one. You've heard about all this stuff my aunt was a flight attendant for United.
I know where this is going.
You know where I'm going? All right,
Yes,
with the
let's
Denver,
go.
with the
Let's go.
Denver airport.
Let's go.
Okay, so there is a lot of funky things in the structure of the Denver airport, and a lot of emblems and trinkets and all things around with the Denver airport. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole, but my aunt was a flight attendant for United, who hubs out of Denver, and that's where she was for 35 years. So there's some pretty intriguing things.
Does she believe in the conspiracy theories?
I think there's some. I don't want to rat her out one way or another, but
We should have
it has
zoomed
been
her in.
brought to my attention. It is a point of interest in our family.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Suppose there's a secret underground base that may or may not, contain extraterrestrial life and all kinds of fun stuff. So I've heard that. And actually, my first time ever flying through the Denver airport out recruiting, I was walking through the airport with wide open eyes, looking for doors and everything else. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to surprise Melissa with a 3-day weekend this weekend. Where are you taking her?
Ooh, a 3-night weekend or 2-night?
Yeah, I mean, we're going, 3 days, 3 nights. Where are we going? Not without the kids. Let's throw that in there. Without the kids, you drop the kids off with Dave, and they eat fruitcake the weekend. So,
you know what? Honestly, most people don't know this, but my dad, before he went on his run in the SEC, was the defensive coordinator at UNLV in the early 90s. And so I lived in Las Vegas as a young kid, went to Excalibur's castle, had the all-you-can-eat crab leg buffet and played games all night until I was sick. So I haven't.
Did you hang out with Clark Griswold at the casino where you pick a number?
Yeah, exactly. So not the experience that most people would have in Vegas, but it has always set me up right to where I love Las Vegas. I'm not a big gambler. I'm really not. But I love going to Las Vegas. Again, I'm a foodie. I love the food, love the shows, and I love just walking around and watching people. And so if we did it a couple years ago, we've got our 10-year anniversary coming up.
Let's go.
We probably need to step it up from
Let's go
Vegas for a couple days, but if I'm just can go anywhere, right? Nice 3-day deal. You can. Vegas is a pretty awesome place.
All right, so here we go. It's the time that you're really excited about. We call this segment Associate Roulette. Okay, so we got 7 questions submitted by our associates here at Quick Recruiting, and they've all submitted their questions. So you get to pick a number. We're going to do 2 of them. So first, you got to pick a number between 1 and 7. I'm going to tell you who asked the question and what the question is.
Okay. All right. Pick a number between 1 and 7.
1 and 7.
I'm going to go with number 3.
Number 3. Ooh, she's actually on the podcast. She doesn't like anybody else knowing it. She's our technical guru and our creative director, Raquel Rodriguez. This is Rich Rod's daughter. She's awesome. Okay.
Love it.
All right. Why, as a guy who knew he was going to coach football for your whole life, did you decide to major in political science? And are you secretly planning a run for office?
Oh, Raquel, she's on to me. That's a great question. All right, I've always been into history, and I'm not very political in terms of like, hey, I stand on the table, Democratic, Republican. You know what I mean? That's not really my way. However, I do enjoy politics. Like my favorite show of all time is The West Wing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like I enjoy hearing about the political system more in structure than getting into like, policy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dance in terms of, where we are, because that is a deep rabbit hole that we all can go down. And, but that being said, I love politics. I love hearing it. So in college, I was very interested in learning about political structure, political theory. All those things are very interesting to me. And so I knew growing up that I wanted to be a college coach, and I knew that it really didn't matter the major that you chose.
That's right.
And so I just went with the thing that was most interesting.
There you go.
And then, yes, to answer your question, Wommack 2045.
Can I be on the ticket?
For president with Tyler Siskey as Secretary of Defense.
We will win Alabama. I don't know about any other state, but we will win Alabama.
Well, I better, yeah. I haven't lost a game yet, so
you're undefeated.
I feel good about it right now.
It may just run for it now.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, all right. So now you got a number between 1 and 7. You've already picked 3. So what you got next? One more time.
Let's go with 6.
6 comes from my man Hunt Coleman. Okay, he must be good at questions because he got picked twice, 2 weeks in a row. Hugh actually picked one of his questions last week. All right, this is going. You're going to use some of your political science experience with that to answer this question. Okay. You've been a part of the FCS playoffs. Would you like to see a 16 to 24 team playoff in FBS?
In FBS football.
Yeah. Instead of the bowl system.
Yes, I think so. And here's why. I think, all right, here's the problem. All right. The problem is the amount of games that can be played, right?
Right. Correct.
You sit here and say, well, in the March Madness playoff bracket, right? You can play on a Tuesday and get geared up and ready to go on a Thursday. How you do that in college football, I would love to see it. I don't have an answer on how to implement it. If anybody's got a good answer for how to implement, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think you could do a 16 to even 32 team, but you just have to cut down the regular season games.
You have to
And
cut down, yeah.
and at the end of the day, schools don't want to give up that extra home game and for ticket prices and all those things. But I would like to see, because it was fun, I mean, you get to, the thing that I think that comes to it is, you wouldn't have any arguing again about, well, this group of 5 team is undefeated and they need to get their shots. Everybody gets their shot, you see them. And, for those who aren't familiar with it, you win your league, you're in. Okay. You win your league, you're in. Okay. And then you can have the same college football playoff committee that picks the at-large teams and let's go. So
I think it's a great deal. I think there's all kinds of, you talk about every conference has their own network now. They have a certain allotment of conference only games. The group of 5s would absolutely love it. I think it's good for the game of football because, you're giving more fan bases an opportunity to engage at the highest level. And I think that is a positive,
And I think it would create a little bit more. I think it would create a little bit more parity around the league. I think if you're a group of 5 schools that win your league and you're going to the playoffs every year, you're going to start to be able to recruit at a different level too. And I think with the parity, because you saw that in FCS. That's what happens in FCS. If you ask the average football fan what are the best leagues in FCS, they can't tell you because teams are making the playoffs from every league. So
yeah.
But all right, so we're going to finish up the interview. You've been very gracious with your time. My wife, Erin, who is also a saint for Marry Me, as you know.
Absolutely.
She was
Cannot overstate that enough.
Can't overstate that. All right. So she was very upset with me because she had no idea that I was even interviewing Hugh on the first podcast. And so she's like, well, who's going to be on episode 2? And I said, Kane. And she goes, I got some questions. And so we decided to give her her own segment.
Okay.
And so she's going to have it going forward. So you get the first session.
Love it.
This segment is called What My Wife Wants to Know. Okay.
Okay.
So
fire away.
What my wife wants to know. When you're looking for houses, do you actually have a say or does Melissa just pick what she wants?
Good question. In my years of growth and wisdom, I should I should get to the point to where I do give her the say. I have gotten more to that point. I get picky, you know what I mean? And I have preferences, probably too many preferences, but I will say we have picked houses out together. We actually see things in terms of style and all that very similar. So that has been a pretty good process. But for this last house, she really picked the house and they flew me down here for like 3 days. And, we had to fly back getting ready for the bowl game against Ole Miss and all that. And so I walked into the house that we're living in now for 9 minutes, front to back. I walked through about every room that I could, had a couple suggestions. Hey, can we do X, Y, Z? And the house was ours. So that being
Congratulations.
Said, yeah, thank you very much. But it all worked out very well. And as I grow and get better, get older and more wise, it is certainly a better thing to let your wife pick because she actually is going to be home more than I am.
Yep. Yes, it is. Have you ever picked a house on your own without her?
No, sir. That's a no-go in the Wommacks.
All right. So I did. Okay, so she reminded me of this and actually I'm talking about, since we're throwing people under the bus today, I'm going to throw our good friend Darren Hiller under the bus because Darren actually went with me when we moved to Jonesboro like in 2008, and so me and Hiller both love this house, and guess what?
Yeah, didn't go well.
The kitchen was too small, and so she reminded me of that as when we resold it. It was that house sat empty for a year. So we were like just running down the highway, just throwing mortgage payments out the window. And you were there. I don't know if you remember this or not. We actually closed on that house at the bowl game. So it sat empty for a full year. We closed on that house at the bowl game when we were at Ole Miss at the BBVA Compass Bowl. I closed on that house in the lobby of the hotel.
You're kidding.
No, literally that we were getting ready to get on the bus to go to the stadium is when we closed on the house in the middle of the lobby.
Well, glad to see you
Yeah.
were locked in.
Yeah, I was locked in, ready to go. I was like, at this point, I probably would have given the house away. I didn't care. I was ready to get rid of it. But
Yeah.
well, Kane, hey man, I appreciate you. I know you've been very busy and you've been very, very, very gracious with your time. The one thing that we can guarantee is that Melissa and Aaron will both listen to this podcast. So we'll have at least 2 listeners.
Absolutely.
And, but no, hey, I appreciate it. I can't wait to see what you do at South Alabama. Obviously, you're a good friend of mine and a great hire. And I can't wait to see what goes on. And you know our deal. I'm there the first game. Okay.
Yep.
I'm coming down the first game. And I'll make you a deal that you can't refuse.
Okay.
All right. If you get me a sideline pass, I will wear a pair of Lululemons on the sideline.
Oh, that's a deal right there, Big Daddy.
Deal?
That's a deal. I'll have it picked out for you. What's your what are you? 48?
Are you serious right now? I'm still. Hey, I've been losing some lbs too. I'm bounced between a third. I bounce between a 34 and I've wore 36s for 1,000 years, and then my wife's got me on this new diet because she says I'm getting fat. So I've dropped a little bit. So I bounce between a 34 and a 36.
No doubt.
And then I won't even talk about leg length because that's embarrassing. It's just a little over 14 inches.
By this point, you have your own personal hemmer, don't you?
Yeah, I have my own personal tailor in Birmingham there in Homewood. That's my dude. So, Ram, if you're listening, love you. You're the best in the business. So that's it, man. That's what we do. So I appreciate you for stopping by. I appreciate your time.